Tira Vanachare Yamuna Tira Vanachare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare Gopi Jana Balava Giribaradhare Gopi Jana Balava Giribaradhare Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachare Yamuna Tira Vanachare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare Jai Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Jai Jai Prabhupada 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 Jai Jai Prabhupada 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 Jai Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajaktaris Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki ISKCON's founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Shri Shri Radha Radhanath Ki Shri Giri Govardhan Ki Shri Caitanya Mahaprabhu Ki Sankirtan Yagya Ki Go Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 8. What's the title of Chapter 8? Dhruva Maharaj leaves home for the forest, and today is verse 55. Correct. Okay. Salilai Shuchipir Malyar Vanyar Mula Paladibi Shastan Kuram Shukaish Charchet Tulasya Priyaya Prabhum Salilai Shuchibir Malayar Vanyar Mula Paladibe Shastan Kuram Shukais Charchet Tulasya Priyaya Prabhum Salilai Shuchibir Malyar Vanyar Mula Paladibe Shastan Kuram Shukais Charchet Tulasya Priyaya Prabhum Salilai Shuchibir Malyar Vanyar Mula Paladibe Shastan Kuram Shukais Charchet Tulasya Priyaya Prabhum Vanyar Mula Paladibe Shastan Kuram Shukais Charchet Tulasya Priyaya Prabhum Malyar Vanyar Mula Paladibe Dastan Kuram Shukhaischa Chet Tulesya Priyaya Prabham. Ladies, Salila Shuchibiamalia Vanya Mula Paladibi Dastan Kuram Shukhaischa Chet Tulasya Priyaya Prabham. Salila Shuchibiamalia Vanya Mula Paladibi Shastan Kuram Shuchaiska Chet Tulasya Priyaya Prabham. Salilai, by use of water, Shuchibi, being purified, Malyai, by garlands, Vanyai, of forest flowers, Mula, roots, Palaadibe, by different kinds of vegetables and fruits, Shasta, the newly grown grass, Ankura, buds, Amshukai, by the skin of trees, such as the burja, Cha, and Archet, should worship, Tulasya, by the tulsi leaves, Priyaya, which are very dear to the Lord, Prabhum, the Lord. Translation: one should worship the Lord by offering pure water, pure flower garlands, fruits, flowers, and vegetables which are available in the forest, or by collecting newly grown grasses, small buds of flowers, or even the skins of trees, and if possible, by offering tulsi leaves, which are very dear to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Can you all hear what I'm saying clearly enough? It's not, difficult to follow, because there's definitely a delay. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. It is specifically mentioned herein that tulsi leaves are very dear to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and devotees should take particular care to have tulsi leaves in every temple and center of worship. In the Western countries, while engaged in propagating the Krishna consciousness movement, we were brought great unhappiness because we could not find tulsi leaves. We are very much obliged, therefore, to our disciple Srimati Govinda Dasi, because she has taken much care to grow tulsi plants from seeds, and she has been successful by the grace of Krishna. Now, tulsi plants are growing in almost every center of our movement. Tulsi leaves are very important in the method of worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In this verse, the word salilai means by the water. Of course, Dhruva Maharaj was worshipping on the bank of the Yamuna. The Yamuna and the Ganges are sacred, and sometimes devotees in India insist that the deity must be worshipped with water of the Ganges or Yamuna. But here we understand desha, the words desha kala, to mean according to time and country. In the Western countries, there is no river Yamuna or Ganges. Water from such sacred rivers is not available. Does this mean that the Archa worship should, for that reason, be stopped? No. Salilai refers to any water, whatever is available, but it must be very clear and collected purely. That water can be used. The other paraphernalia, such as flower garlands, fruits and vegetables, should be collected according to the country and according to their availability. Tulsi leaves are very important for satisfying the Lord. So, as far as possible, an arrangement should be made for growing tulsi leaves. Dhruva Maharaj was advised to worship the Lord with the fruits and flowers available in the forest. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna frankly says that he accepts vegetables, fruits, flowers, etc. One should not offer Lord Vasudeva anything other than what is prescribed herein by the great authority Narada Muni. We cannot offer to the deity according to our whims. Since these fruits and vegetables are available anywhere in the universe, we should observe this small point very attentively. Salilai Shachibi Malyaya, Vanyara Mula Paladi B, Shastan Kuram Shukaish Charchet, Tulasya Priyaya Prabhum. One should worship the Lord by offering pure water, pure flower garlands, fruits, flowers, and vegetables which are available in the forest, or by collecting newly grown grasses, small buds of flowers, or even the skins of trees, and if possible, by offering tulsi leaves, which are very dear to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharne Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschityadesh Tarne Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivas Adi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindubhya evacha paditanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So, devotees, as I'm sure you're well aware, this is Narada Muni speaking to Dhruva Maharaj in the forest. And of course we all know Dhruva Maharaj went to the forest because his mother, well, if we go back a step, because he got very upset with his father, and as is the Kshatriya nature, he wanted to teach him a lesson. let him learn the hard way. This is Kshatriya nature. So the point had been that Dhruva was insulted because his position was in the family was supposedly not so high as his brother or half-brother. And therefore his father mistreated him, actually. So he wanted to get a kingdom better than his father's, bigger than his father's, to teach his father a lesson. Who do you think you're treating as if they're not important? I'll show you who's important around here. So that's what he wanted. So he asked his mother, how could I achieve this? And his mother said, well, I think you should pray to God. So he immediately asked, where do I find him? As if, where do we find the person who knows how to work the sound system? Like that. Because, we expect him or her to be around, nearby, not far away. He may be in Pretoria. I heard anyway, okay. So where do I find God? And his mother Suniti said, well, I've heard that when people want to find God, they often go to the forest. And so Dhruva just stood up, walked out, went to the forest. So there he was in the forest, but he didn't really know what's the procedure for finding God. Do you just look behind every tree, or what do you do? So then, because his desire was so extremely intense and sincere, you could say, he really meant it. It wasn't just half-hearted, that, I'd like to find God, but if you hear they're serving prasadam before I've found God, just let me go. I'll come and join you and have some prasadam, which is sort of a way of finding God, you could say. But you get the idea. Yes. So, because of the degree of intensity of his desire, the Supreme Personality of Godhead sent Narada Muni to help him. And, it's a long story, but you've been following it. And Narada Muni, after some back and forth with him, for example, Narada Muni said to him that you're just a small boy, 5 years old. You're just a small boy. Now, God is everywhere. He's not only in the forest, he's everywhere. And so he told Dhruva, God is in the palace also. So why don't you just go back home and try and find God in the palace? Because here, what is there to eat? You're a small boy, a growing boy. You need to have a good, solid diet so you'll grow up and become strong as an adult. So why don't you go back to the palace and look for God there? Because he's there, no less than he is here. But Dhruva was convinced, this is what I'm doing. I am looking for God in the forest. And he told him, listen, if you can't help me, go away. Just leave me alone. So then Narada told him this process which he's describing here. And of course it's very interesting and important that the main part of it, Shri Shri Radha Radhanath Shri Giri Govardhan Shri Caitanya Mahaprabhu Ki Jai. So it's very important and interesting that the main part of the process which he described to Dhruva was just told in the immediate previous verse. Right, and so now today in this verse 55, there's some further elaboration, but it's all based on the chanting of mantra. In this case, particularly Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, of course, which, anyway, it's a very sacred mantra. We are very familiar with it. We chant it generally every day. At least if we're present in the classes, then basically we'll be chanting it every day. So it is important. So along with that, Narada Muni is saying that you should worship the Lord by offering pure water, salilai shuchibi. Shuchi means pure, very like clean, pure, like in a physical sense, very pure. And then also pure flower garlands, fruits, flowers, vegetables, which are available locally, basically. Locally. He says, vanyai, malyai vanyai, garlands made from forest flowers, from the van. From the van means the forest, and mula means roots, phala, adabi, different kinds of vegetables and fruits, like this. So, of course, the point there is Dhruva was in the forest, so therefore, and not only was he in the forest, but he really wanted to stay in the forest until he found God. So therefore, because he was in the forest, there was no alternative but find the fruits and vegetables and flowers for making garlands, which were available in the forest. Yeah. If he had been in the palace, or if he'd just been somewhere else in a city, then it would have been, this is not like a universal instruction. You must get fruits and vegetables from the forest. You can also get them from not the Checkers, what is it now? ShopRite. You can get them from the ShopRite. Yeah. Malyai ShopRite ein. Yeah. Anyway, but the point is just a simple point. Just get the things which are available and purify them. If they're not 100% pure already, purify them, and then you can offer them to the Lord. Yes, and Srila Prabhupada makes the point that you don't, like in a very traditional sense, and in the Vedic tradition, you can say, in the Vedic tradition, people really prize, they really value water from the Ganges. I mean, generally probably more than any other water. But the water of the Yamuna also, for those who understand what is the Yamuna, it's actually even more elevated than the water of the Ganges. Because the Ganges water, when Lord Vamana kicked a hole through the top of the universe so the Ganges would come through, the water came over his lotus foot. But his lotus foot did not stay there. He didn't just stand there with his foot up, with his toe through the roof of the universe. He stepped down and carried on with some other activities. But at least the Ganges, it contacted his lotus foot there initially and then came through. And because of that contact with the lotus foot of Lord Vamana, therefore it's considered extra special. But the Yamuna is even more special because Lord Krishna, every day he bathed in the Yamuna. Not just one time like Vamana, toe through the roof of the universe, and then the water goes on his foot. But every day Krishna was bathing in the Yamuna, swimming and playing with his friends, and the cows were in the Yamuna, and Krishna was in the Yamuna with the cows, and so on and so forth. And this was just every day. So therefore, first of all, it's every day, not just a one-time event of contacting that water. But it was every day. That's the first thing. But the second thing, of course, is that Lord Krishna is on a higher level than Lord Vamana, generally speaking. Lord Vamana is an expansion of Lord Krishna, even a Vishnu expansion. So he's not quite the same as Lord Krishna himself in certain very transcendental terms. So therefore, ultimately, the devotees understand the Yamuna water is more valuable or more pure, more purifying, more sanctified than even the water of the Ganges, which is very pure and very sanctified. So anyway, as Prabhupada mentioned here, that some people think, in India, some people think that where water is referred to, it should be Ganges or Yamuna water. It should be. And if it's not up to the standard, and that means the whole process of whatever worship or transcendental activity is going on, that will not be up to the standard, and it'll all be, second class. But, well, I can mention actually an interesting thing. Many years ago, I forget how many, but it was many. It was probably at least 20 years ago. How old are you? 12. And how old are you? 14. It was before you were born. I was visiting Jaipur, and we decided to visit the museum in the palace, because we visit the Radha Govinda temple which is very, very special, but it's in the grounds of the palace of the Maharaj, the king, who is still living there. And even though he's not really ruling anything any longer, but he's a very wealthy, extremely wealthy person and extremely influential. So we went in to the palace, to the museum, which is within the palace, and there we found all sorts of things, all sorts of amazing weapons. Shoo. Anyway, all sorts of amazing things, including 2 big water pots. And when I say big, I mean they were big. They must have been 1,000 liters. I mean, they were really, really big. And there were 2 of them. And what were these big water pots all about? Well, what happened was that the Maharaj of Jaipur, one time, he made a trip by ship from India to England to meet, I think, Queen Victoria, anyway, one of the queens, because they were, the British were ruling. So he went to meet the Queen in England by ship. And I don't know how long it takes, but it must be a good couple of weeks or something like that. And he had taken a vow. He would never bathe in any water which was not Ganges water. So these 2 really big pots, I mean, you couldn't see into them. They're so high and they're just really big. I mean, maybe they were more than 1,000 liters. But so he took these 2 things full of Ganges water to England and back. So he didn't have to bathe in anything other than Ganges water. That's sort of, we would say, getting a little carried away, a bit extreme. But this sort of idea, this is what Prabhupada's referring to here, that some people, particularly in India or from India, they have this sort of idea that if it's not from, like within, like not really an integral part of the culture, really like ethnic, then it's not up to the standard. Yeah. And therefore it shouldn't be used. And therefore Vaishnavism or even just Hinduism cannot be practiced outside India. Not really. I mean, you can do a little something, but it's just not the same at all. Yeah. So, of course, that type of idea in general, we're very familiar with. We have heard a lot about these things that, for example, it's actually mentioned in the first canto how Maharaj Yudhisthira, just before he found out that Krishna had left this world, that Krishna had left this world already, but he was not aware because Maharaj Yudhisthira was not on WhatsApp. He wasn't. He wasn't on Telegram. He didn't even have a cell phone. So no one had told him. But then Arjuna came and told him. But this is now immediately, just before Arjuna arrives from Dwaraka, where Krishna left. Krishna left, well, near Dwaraka at least, Prabhas Kshetra. So, but Maharaj Yudhisthira had been noticing all these inauspicious omens of, thunder with no clouds, or lightning with no clouds. This is, it's almost unimaginable, but if it happens, it's a bad omen. Yeah. The deities, when you look at the deities, it looks like they're crying. Not in ecstasy, but they're sad. This is a very bad omen. And if